Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 826. We take a look at JSA Year One, Part 1.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding!
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge. I'm joined as always by my co-host, Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to be looking at JSA number 13, 14, and 15, JSA Year One. This is the first half of this story arc. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
We got two really cool hardcover omnibuses. First one up is House of Mystery, The Bronze Age, Volume 2, and this is the 2026 edition, 48% off, only $65. And the next one is the JLA by Mark Waid, 38% off, only $108.50. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, we were talking about Legion quite a bit during Legends and our last episode. So I did a search for Legion of Superheroes just to kind of see what's out there as far as omnibuses go and just various collected editions. Oh my gosh, just a wealth of things. Just a spotlight. Legion of Superheroes 5 Year Later's Omnibus. This is $175 regularly. It is 50% off, only $87.50. Legion of Superheroes The Curse Deluxe Edition. This is $49.99 regularly, 40% off, only $29.99. The Legion of Superheroes, The Great Darkness Saga. This is $49.99 regularly, 40% off, only $29.99. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast art?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show. We're double recording today, and I want to shout out once again the Comic Locker Trivia Contest. If you take a look at our show notes and click on it, you can actually see the 3 questions that are available. Please consider participating. We actually have 2 more opportunities for winners at the Comic Locker Contest, where it gives you a 1-year free subscription to the Comic Locker for the pro version. And then we also have a Comic Locker discount. The comiclocker.com/Raging Bullets. If you click on that, there is a special discount for Raging Bullets listener. So I want to thank everyone for participating in that contest. And then without further ado, let's talk some comics.
Through the magic alchemy of nature's most awesome sources of energy, Ray Palmer, atomic physicist, becomes the Atom.
Our first discussion this episode is going to be Justice Society of America, Year One, Chapter 1. This is issue number 13. The writer is Jeff Lemire. The artist is Gavin Guy. Colors by Luis Guerrero. Letters by Steve Wands. Cover by Dave Johnson. Associate editor Marquise Draper. Senior editor Andrew Marino. Group editor Katie Kubert. Variant covers by Jorge Corona and Sarah Stern. And I want to start with the covers. I'm a big JSA geek.
Yeah.
It goes back to my childhood. I reference on this show a lot the Jeff Johns run, but the crossovers when I was a kid, and I'm going back into the 70s, was my introduction to these golden age characters, and I just loved them because they visually looked so different. It was great that there was a Superman and Batman that like their life, kind of extended on, but it was the other characters that were really captivating me. Your Sandmans, your Hourmans, your Dr. Fates, people like that. Jay Garrick's Flash all had these just wonderful outfits and ways of operating. These covers, I love Dave Johnson artwork. And got a chance at Heroes Con. I've got a Batman print that he did that I got signed by him. And he was another one where it was like, do I do this or do I do that cover-wise with him? And I ended up doing the print with him, which was great. But I'm regretting not doing one of these covers from JSA because they're all just so good. I love the look of Sandman and Hourman. History-wise with the JSA, we've kind of covered this on the show before, but obviously your history with JSA began on the show. What has been your reading experience? Like, I mean, I know you haven't read as much as I have, but you've read a lot at this point in time between the things that we've done. You know, where are you at with JSA? Have you done any back reading on JSA and like kind of where you're at?
Well, okay. So yeah, I 100% started reading JSA when we started doing the show. So that's my introduction to them. But that's been, a little while now.
20 years. So it's funny. It's funny, like, to talk about these things like you're a newbie.
Yeah.
Some of them, it's really, you're not anymore because it's 20 years.
Yep. And JSA is one of those interesting ones where I always wanted to do a deeper dive on it than I ever did. When the new titles come out, I read them, I enjoy them. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I get why Sean likes the JSA, but I haven't really gone back and done a deep dive on them. I've bought a bunch of the collected stuff that comes out, but I've never been able to. It's in the pile of books to be read pile, not on the shelf having already been read.
Did you get the John's omnibuses?
What?
Did you get the John's omnibuses?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
I see the name Jeff Johns. I'm like, yes, so come on, but I haven't read it. I actually have not read that one yet. So it's
you have to read.
I know.
That may be something where we go back and do some of the arcs on that for the show because there's so much I've wanted to cover. We did the Return of Hawkman at one point, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Okay. But I mean, there's big stories in there to still do that we should go back to that JSA run and mine some of that for our listeners.
Yeah, I know. And again, this is one of the titles that every time I read it, I enjoy it. Every time I read it, I'm like, I get why, Sean loves the JSA so much, and because these characters are awesome characters, and even any modern spins they've put on them still have a feel of that classic, styling from the 40s, World War II, 1940s superheroes fighting the Nazis. I'm like, I love that stuff. I am a fan of that kind of period piece in comic books, movies, TV shows, and whatnot. So I'm all in on this. And then, just like when I was reading this was a series that I was stockpiling. I wasn't, as a new one was coming out, I'm reading it solely through the app. So you've got that, 1 month plus delay, but I wasn't, actively reading. And
you pay for the extra. You pay for the extra, don't you? Like for the DC.
Yes.
So it's not really a month.
No
delay. It's a few weeks.
Yes, I do the Ultra.
Yeah, I think the Ultra isn't Ultra like a 3-week delay. I think.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. And with some titles, actually, they do release same day, but it's only up that day, and then they pull it. So if you're really paying attention, you can actually see some stuff that are currently new books that are just came out.
That's some things.
Yeah. Well, that's how I read Hush story.
Okay.
The end of Hush. Yeah. It popped up the day of. I read it. Then I went back later to find it. For when we did the recording, I'm like, Tom, where'd it go?
Oh wow.
So I'm like, oh, they're doing that. So every so often they just throw up a book. They only throw it up for the Wednesday, and I don't know if they do it every week or if they just do it sometimes. So
I wonder what the thinking is behind that. That's interesting.
I think the thinking is to get people to get the Ultra, because you got a chance to read a fresh new book.
Yeah, I just to me that would be the only thing I would see there's a benefit, and I wonder if there is some benefit of this where like people get like intrigued to go grab it at the store then because it was on Ultra for like a tease.
Yeah,
and they got to do that. I don't know. I'm just trying to see what the benefit would be in doing that. It's interesting. I'm not against the idea. I like when they get experimental with these apps and trying to do that.
And that could have just been a one-time deal for Hush.
Yeah.
because I'll be honest, I don't remember seeing that for other stuff.
Yeah.
But I know I read Hush on the app before it was regularly going to be on the app.
I read the oversized tabloidy, whatever, and I overuse tabloid. Our listeners like tabloid's kind of an interesting word, but I'm liking these oversized publications when they're coming out. They've got a black and white issue of the first Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow that's coming. That's I ordered it from Midtown Comics. Just because it was on Instagram, because I follow a lot of comic book things, creators, but also like fan sites and things like that. And it came up that Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is doing a oversized black and white issue of the first one. And I like actually when they do that. I'm just hoping that like if it's successful, they do the whole thing, because I'd love to have the whole thing in that format.
Oh, yeah.
It scratches my Absolute Edition itch, where, I just like the artwork in a bigger format. Speaking of the artwork, this one has, you mentioned the period piece of this.
Yeah.
This artwork is really good for the period piece. Like, I really love the atmosphere, the tone, the mood. It opens up, with the Paperboy, the newsboy, sitting there going extra Hitler launches attack, and just sets the whole, thing about Tyler Chemicals, and really sets the stage for this whole world that we're seeing here. I love when JSA has the opportunity to jump between being a period piece and then having these same period piece heroes in modern day. Yeah. With them having those 1940s sensibilities. That has to be a part of JSA to me. I mean, that to me is the bread and butter of it. It's over on the Marvel side of it. I always liked the Invaders for the same reason.
Oh, okay.
Those particular characters just had the idea that the superheroes jumped in and fought Hitler and fought the Nazis. I'm like, yes,
I love
it. Still works.
Anybody beating up the Nazis?
Yeah,
I really do. Yeah, I saw an interview with Harrison Ford when they're talking about the Crystal Skull. We're talking about bringing back the Nazis as the villains and stuff like that. And he's just like, as soon as they, said we were going to be going against the Nazis, I knew this was going to be some good, fun stuff. Cause that's just, everybody wants to see you beat up Nazis, So it was like, I'm like, yeah. So that's, again, one of the reasons I do like this. I do like period pieces of this time frame because, one, you have your clear-cut villains and heroes in the stories that are being laid out. So, and I do like, seeing, life as it was back then, and as close as they can get to being accurate to the time, I appreciate it even more. And I think they did a really good job with this, so far with this story, really capturing that time period, that time frame.
The idea, too, that this is, for these heroes, the first meetings, so you don't see them. They're not instantaneous friends in all cases. Sometimes it's relationships of convenience that are in there. I love seeing Hippolyta in this as Wonder Woman, and really just being known as Hippolyta on this. And I like that version. I love that she's got that Golden Age outfit. I love that they've morphed the origin to that being Hippolyta that came out in that original origin outfit. Well, not Diana, just because I think that all made it work. As far as that, her mother did operate as a, woman of mystery during that time. I love this era. I would love to see this done even in a classic. They just did that Spider-Man noir with
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Thank you so much. Why am I drawing a blank on Nick Cage? But and you had two different ways you can watch it on Amazon. You can watch it in color or you can watch it in black and white. And actually, even the color version that they do has like a different kind of color filtering, so it feels like more of a classic representation. So I love both versions. But where I'm going with that is that would be like the perfect way to do a JSA like miniseries.
Yes.
And really lean heavily into that noir style. And
big time.
And so I think it would be great if, as they're looking for maybe new, and the people I'd love to have handle it, Amazon.
Yeah.
It's Amazon's, like the Cape Crusader cartoon's been really good. There's more animated series coming. I don't know if they're coming to Amazon or coming to HBO, but we're getting like a Joker animated series. We're getting an Absolute Batman animated series. And there's a third one I'm blanking out at the moment, but I love that we're getting more animation because I've loved not just the DC animation. All the animation out there is really, really good for comic book related stuff. So I'm glad that we're leaning heavily into that again because it's working real well. But this to me is tailor-made for, I'd love to see this as an animated series or live action in the Spider-Man noir style.
Yeah.
To me, the live action Spider-Man noir styles before I would have said animation. Now I'm kind of like, if you can get the right cast and do that Spider-Man noir style, I want that live action. I really do.
It's funny because I always thought with this one, animation, I would rather have had animation, but I've never seen the Spider-Man noir. So I will hold off my judgment for live action versus animation until I see that.
I would take either. But the game changer with me was that Nick Cage series. It's really good, by the way, for people. If you're looking for something to check out that's different, I'm a big Spider-Man geek. And this Nick Cage one is really, really a good show. I'm glad to see that out there right now. It's nice to see Jay and Joan, like the early days of that relationship, the stuff going on with Rex Tyler, obviously the Hawks I'm a geek of, the Atom. The Atom, I would say, remains the Golden Age Atom remains like my weakest character, meaning I don't have as much history with him as I do the others because of the fact that in a lot of the revivals, he has already, like Atom Smasher's replaced him. So I love seeing that character because I want, and I continue to want to get to know that character more. Alan Scott, I keep forgetting that Alan Scott has had variations where he has worked in Gotham City. He has been Gotham City's hero. So it was nice seeing that reminder and the history of the JSA. I like that we're sticking to a lot of the core tenets of the JSA that have been around just for a long period of time. I love that. Alan Scott, I'm an Alan Scott geek, both before and after the reveal of his preferences and things like that. I just love Alan Scott's Green Lantern. I think he's remained a consistently amazing character, and it was one of my favorite JSAers.
Yes, I'll be honest with you, he's probably one of mine as well. And one of the things, again, you talk about the changing, his preferences, how now, and it's going forward. He is gay. Yeah. And they're keeping it. They're not, when they first announced the release, I know there was a lot of people who went up in arms. I'm like, but again, in this time period, you couldn't be as rich and as powerful as he is and be openly gay. Yeah. You needed to have a beard. You needed to have a wife, and kids, and say, look at me, I'm a man, because he would have lost everything. And there was periods in time where it was actually illegal to be. So the fact that he had to hide it from everybody rings true to the society. It's one of the things I love how they handled him, where they're like, hey, I could never be open and honest until present day. And I think that is something I kind of like. And I like how they put, the undertones in this, like when he's meeting up with Gordon and he's like, hey, can you keep a secret? We both know I can't. That right there is a nice reference to the secrets that he has. So I really like how they handle Alan here. And like you said, he is one of those heroes I really do, I really like it. And it's interesting for me to see him not be as much of a team player in the beginning stages. Cause to me, I see him as like one of the ultimate team players in the JSA.
Right. And actually being one of the leads, him and Jay, I look at them as kind of being the two figureheads of the team. I mean, it's so interesting how their initial interactions go. You mentioned him and relationship preferences and things like that. I actually really love the fact that they found the right balance of that now, where we've gotten back to great Alan Scott superhero stories. It's kind of like Jay and Joan, that's in there. And it's an appropriate part and an important part of this, but it doesn't overtake us seeing Jay Garrick as the Flash. And I think Alan's relationship status and his preferences fit appropriately into there. You're right. The undertones were there, and I loved how they handled it. And I feel like this character has kind of become fully realized, if that makes sense, where we've gotten back to the right balance of superheroing and what his personal, like where his personal life should fall in relation to telling a really strong comic book story. And I love that. Yeah. It should feel much more natural in how it's being presented. I have always loved Our Man. I've never wanted to be Our Man. The idea that I can take a pill and only have an hour to use my powers does not appeal to me at all. But I think his costume is wicked cool. I think his power set is really cool. I get why he's on the team. I've always thought he was just a great addition. But that hour limitation, it's because like, when's everything going to hit the fan? Like, if he's taking that before he's infiltrating, he's got an hour. At the 59-minute mark is when things are going to start going haywire.
Here, question for you on his powers, because this is something I'm not 100% clear on, and maybe you'll know. Mm-hmm. He takes the pill, it runs for an hour.
Right.
Then can he take a second pill after that hour runs?
I think it's one. There's a time. I think it's one a day, I think, or something like that. If I remember correctly. That's something I'm wondering. Like, it's like, does he have X number of hours? He has to wait 24 hours before he can pop another pill, or is it? It's one of those things. I always wondered about this guy. How long does it take for him to be able to take the next pill? I thought it was once a day, and I think it will. I'm almost positive on that. That's like the serious limitation of it. Okay, I just looked it up, and sorry for the stumbling around with that. So it says Our Man Rex Tyler should only take Mariclo, the pill, once every 24 hours. The drug is highly addictive and requires a full day for his body to filter out the toxins. Taking the pills too close together risks an overdose, severe hallucinations, or permanent physical harm. So you should not.
He's not advised.
and there was his son in particular. I know there was stories of addiction involving his son because of it. So I do think, it's been done, but I knew the 24-hour mark was in there. I was trying to remember that. And what happens is after it wears off, the person becomes like much less powerful than even a normal human at that point in time. So there's severe positives and severe negatives to before and after. So I love the character. I love the idea behind it because I think it's an interesting way. Like, if you were to say to me, Sean, if we give you this pill, you can take it for an hour. As long as you only take it once a day, you're going to be fine. But you get 1 hour to be a superhero. Would you do it? Yes, I absolutely would do it. Would I love the idea that I'm only a superhero for an hour a day? At first, I want to say no, and I'm like, that probably is an appropriate amount of time if you want to have any kind of life. Guys, hey, my hour's up. I'm going to go home and sleep. It was nice. It was nice hanging with all of you.
Nice helping you out here. I know I'm not completely done, but I got to go now.
I would be the worst Our Man ever because that would be my thing. Guys, hey, 59 minutes, guys. I just want to let you know, my watch just went off. You got about another minute with me, and then I'm gone because people are going to start shooting and stuff, and I'm not going to be in the middle of any of that. But really glad to hang out with you, and I'll see you next team up. Call me, but make sure you know when you want to call me.
Yeah, make sure you call me so we got plenty of time. And that he's the one of the on this team I would not want to be. And I think Wesley Dodds is probably the other one because.
Oh, I love the Sandman. But
hold on, I love the character.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to be him.
Yeah.
Dreams, visions, and just the general weirdness of, this guy does not get a good night's sleep.
Yes.
He is the person who's always on edge, and he is not in a good mental state. Of everybody on this team, Wesley Dodds is probably the one who's the most, who has the most mental issues going on. And part of it's just because of everything he's dealt with, what he's seen, what he hasn't seen. It's, I dig him. I love the character, but I would not want to be him.
Actually, one of the things I do like about these guys, they feel very 40s in the presentation and the idea behind the powers. I do like the way that they encounter each other in that initial investigation. They're both investigating, and there's that accidentally tackling each other. I like that they immediately knew each other and they switched to code names. There's something about them. Here's the area where I have a question. Why did Rex take the pill? Like, my way of operating on this would have been, okay, I've got like lockpicks and stuff like that to sneak in. I'm going to look around and stuff and take the pill when I need to take the pill so I can maximize that hour. Like right now, all he's done is he's torn up a garage door and tackled Wesley.
Yeah.
Like he's wasted a lot of time on that pill that like could be used for fighting.
You know, on one hand, I agree with you.
Okay.
But on the other hand, if he took it after going into the facility, he runs the risk of going to pop the pill and having the bad guy knock him, hit it out of his hand and stuff like that. By taking it at a clear point when he's able to take it, then goes in, he's more guaranteed to have the dosage in him. You know, and I like the fact that he has the stopwatch and he starts the stopwatch so he knows when his hour is up. So if he needs to look, he can just double check, you know, so that's kind of nice. But but again, he's as we said, he's the character neither one of us would want to be, you know, just because of the limitations on it. And
I think he's way cool. Sandman's the same 100%. Thing because you're going off his nightmares, right? And you're taking a look at this page where he has seen a vision of himself gunned down in front of these boxes.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is where my dream was. Like, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't go to that warehouse.
Yeah, I know. But that's the difference between him and you and I, you know, he's like, this could lead to my death, but I got to do it because I got a job to do. So that's why I wouldn't want to be him. And just like, you know, Hourman, I wouldn't want to be. Both are wonderful characters. I don't want anybody hearing me thinking I'm knocking them. No, I love these characters. And I love this little story fact. I love the fact that, you know, this little nut jobby is seeing this and going, oh no, I got to go there. I love that. Again, it's the hero.
I'm going to start the hashtag Sensei hates the 40s. It's gonna be a thing. I'm playing this game on my Switch 2 called Xenoblade Chronicles, and I'm playing the definitive edition that he just put out. And this kid, Shulk, wields this sword called the Monado. And when he wields the sword, he can see into the future. You know, it's not a constant, like all of a sudden he'll have a vision, and he learns that these are things he can prevent because they haven't happened. But I mean, you'll see things like friends die and stuff like that. In one early sequence, like his buddy Ryan is like about to be impaled by a spider, giant spider. You know, is going to impale, not a little tiny one. The giant spider is going to impale him through the chest, and he's done. But there's all of a sudden this race against time to get to Ryan and make sure that doesn't happen. So then you partake in the battle with this giant spider. I just was connecting with this, like as far as his visions, I think the onus would be on him to try and make those visions not come true, especially the one with his death.
Yeah.
But the first thing I would do if I were advising him is to say, why are you in that warehouse?
Yeah.
Like, why would you even show up at the scene of the crime? Of course, like now you're adding to the odds on that actually coming true. I do geek out because this is something that Jeff Johns, the idea of this reincarnation, Johns put this in later. I'm so glad this has been incorporated into the history of JSA with these two. I love all versions of Carter's relationship because I love Carter and Kendra. I love Carter and Shaira. It's great seeing the two of them in this idea of this great love. And I also love the Indiana Jones archaeology aspect of their religion. Like this is, if you were to say to me, Sean, what is your perfect Hawkman? I love Space Cop. Don't get me wrong. I really do. But this is my favorite version. More of this. I'd love to see more of this. I love rereading more of this because I'm doing some Hawkman rereading right now just because I'm kind of in a geek out mood with this particular character. And I love seeing that. I actually went back to the early classic stuff, the Joe Kubert stuff. Because if you were to ask me like, where is your gap with Hawkman? I've read a lot of the Kubert stuff. I haven't read all of it. I'm trying to go through and read all of it just because I want to get up to speed on it.
Yeah.
But this Sportsmaster sequence is really good.
And it's funny how much my opinions and love of Hawkman have changed over the past 20 years. And, before I was really big fan of Space Cop with, why doesn't he have like a big techno weapons and all that? Now I'm back into the, I really like when he does use just a normal mace, and she uses the sword, and it's going back to that connections of the multiple lives and all that kind of stuff. And I was sitting there going, I was really enjoying these sequences, and I'm like, oh, Sean's got to be grinning through all this, because this hits all the really cool stuff about Hawkman. It really does hit it here. And I actually, other relationships, I prefer Carter and Shaira, because of the lengthy connection of them. I like Kendra, but I like Kendra separate from Carter.
But at the time when their relationship was clicking, Kendra was Shaira.
Right.
So we're almost saying the same thing. I liked the Kendra version where, and I'm weirdly duality wise with you, because I also like the Kendra that was with Jon Stewart in the Justice League cartoon and how that's incorporated.
I really do.
So I like the various versions of Kendra, if that makes sense. Shaira, and more of my love for her is, I loved the detail in this sequence. You're not going to waste time putting on the rest of your gear. She grabs the wings, she grabs the shield, she grabs the sword, throws on her helmet, and goes. Yeah. So she's still wearing her archaeology gear and stuff like that. I love tiny details like that, because if she's going after them, I'm not screwing around here. Let me get these doggone wings on. Let me get my shield and my sword, and I'm going after Sportsmaster, so that way he doesn't get away. And it puts us in a little bit of a cliffhanger with her, but it was a badass cliffhanger.
Yeah. And it's funny because I had no idea. I knew who the Sportsmaster was, but I didn't know who, was it Santania is. So it's one of the things I loved about this series. That I'm getting introduced to the classic JSA villains, throughout this, because I'm assuming she's a regular ongoing villain with the JSA and the Hawks and stuff like that. So I was like, it's kind of neat. Oh, cool. Showing introductions of these first meetings of these villains and whatnot. So, it's, again, and I want to say, we talked earlier, but I just want to comment on the art styling through this sequence. I loved how this looked. You go from the warehouse where they're doing heavy shadowing to now we're in the border of Ecuador and Peru. Outdoors, it's a little bit brighter, but it still has that kind of noir look to it. It still has that styling to it. That same styling as before, even though we're in a dramatically different setting. So I like the fact that our art team kept a consistency going, even though this is a much brighter area, they still kept those undertones.
The Johnny Thunder Jay Garrick sequence was absolutely awesome. Yeah. Because first of all, I love it, and I'm jumping a little bit ahead and mentioning this too, because I love that Johnny knows that he's Jay Garrick because of the fact that the dude doesn't wear a mask; he wears a Mercury hat. Because there's not a whole lot of hiding who he is as far as that piece. And I like that actually. There's a point where Johnny mentions that, and I'm jumping ahead with that. But this encounter with them, I love that Jay's like, "You're a nut." When he's sitting here saying, and he thinks it's a prank, when he's like, yeah, I'm Johnny Thunder, and I got here because of my magic genie who's in my pen. And I love that Jay's like, wait, listen, I've seen a lot of fantastical things, but come on, what are you, punking me here and that type of thing? I love the nature of the dialogue on this, because there's twofold here. This is a man who is trying to protect his identity, albeit poorly, because I'm a Jay Garrick geek, and I love his costume. I would not want his costume to be changed for anything in the world. But it is the worst disguise since Superman and the glasses, because he puts on a hat.
See, even Superman's disguise is better than Jay Garrick's.
No, that's what I'm saying.
At least he's got the glasses, and he kind of changes the hairstyling.
Yes.
Jay just puts a hat on.
Yes.
That's not a disguise, dude.
And a uniform. He wears a uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like the flashes, the idea of the flashes moving so quick that they blur out the visuals between them. They don't play that much with Jay Garrick, and I actually love that Johnny Thunder plays openly into that with the story. I think this just is really good writing. It's funny, but it's really good writing. It flipping then to the Gotham East End, and we get to see the Atom, doing the fighting sequence in there and actually going down, and we get to see, the Nazis and the true evil upon us. I loved this kind of stuff where we get to see their exploration into all kinds of weird things that would lead the JSA to need to be banding together as a team in order to handle it. I was glad that the Atom came upon it. He is a true mystery man. Like, this is a guy who is really, he's a strong man.
Yeah.
And he comes in, basically, it's very, very physical, his presentation.
And the thing with me, I never knew that this Atom was a short guy.
Yeah.
I never knew that. So when the first introduction of him, they're laughing because he hey, who's the shrimp? I'm like, shrimp? He's not short, and then later we do see him standing next to Hippolyta. You're like, oh yeah, he is pretty short. Now, granted, Hippolyta is probably over 6 foot, but still you can really see he's one of my people. So I was like, I actually cheered at the fact that, there is someone who's short, a little guy who's a superhero. I'm like, that's cool. And again, it's, I laughed, when the bad guys were just, not worried about him, and he just beats the living heck out of them. So, he's constantly picked on because of his size. So he throws a little extra into it.
One of the best costumes, and I've already referenced this before, Alan Scott, I think is one of the finest, if not the finest costume in the JSA.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid being captivated because I was already a Hal Jordan fan, loved the Green Lantern stuff, and was very into Green Arrow and loved those two together. When I saw the first JSA JLA crossover and I saw Alan Scott, I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, that costume is wicked cool. It is. It's one of the coolest Green Lantern costumes.
Yes.
And bar none. It's still. I mean, that sequence at the end where he's changing after he discovers Gordon killed, and he's changing into that costume. It's badass. I just love the effect and the way that they use it. I like that the ring is more of a magic based thing.
Yeah.
With the Starheart and everything they've done with that. I like the variation between the Earths, that it doesn't have to be the identical backstory that we have with Hal Jordan.
Yeah. Well, it is funny because when I first started reading JSA, I always thought it would have been kind of neat if the Green Lantern Corps gave him a Green Lantern ring, but not his. But later, the more I read it, I like the differences. I like the fact that it's the Starheart, and how, again, like with the Corps, he was selected, and it's the person, it gets passed on to the next, stuff like that. So I like the fact that, he is different than the Green Lanterns. And he may have at one point in time been given a Green Lantern ring. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but I like the differences now. And I'm glad that they've kept the differences in present day.
Al Pratt is an interesting character because I don't think he initially, and I think here, I don't think he's being represented as having powers per se. He's just a strong guy. I mean, he actually was trained by a boxing champ, and it's just really strong. Along the way, he did get powers of a greater strength, but in this, I don't believe in this area, and I have seen nothing in this to indicate that he has powers.
No, it looks to me like, because he even says at one point in time he's a wrestler.
Yeah.
So to me, like, he's a professional wrestler kind of thing, and everything to me points to just all natural, just a bruiser.
Yeah.
Which again, I like the fact that in the 40s we have those kind of heroes. Especially whenever you talk about the older times, where you have people, the mystery men who just put on a mask and beat people up, and I'm like, yeah, you can get away with that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what Batman is.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
In the end of the day, that's
Daredevil?
what Batman is, but he's also, Batman with, you can't call him an ordinary person.
You can't call Daredevil an ordinary person, but I would argue that you can't, like Al Pratt, you can make the strong argument this guy has trained himself on a different level.
Yeah.
So he's far from an ordinary person. And I actually quite like that about him as a character in this. We kick off in the issue 2 with Flash, and it's always great to see him using his super speed against vehicles. I always love the, flashes where people like trying to speed away, and it's like, no, this guy's on foot. He's going to take care of you. There's something, I love the positive energy around some of the JSA characters, where it's weird to say simpler times, but they have a code. They're in just as much danger. I mean, they're getting shot at and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's not like danger isn't prevalent for them. But at the end of the day, even their relationship with the police officer when he's sitting there, they're having this camaraderie relationship where, the Committee for a Pure America, is now coming to fruition. And we're seeing this Nazi party that is hiding underground in America, subverting basically our culture. And I love stories like that because this type of stuff does happen. We see cults and things arise all the time, right? I mean, boy, you can't watch Netflix or HBO without seeing documentaries showing all kinds of wacky stuff like this happening on a regular basis. So this story hits a little close to reality in some cases.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. And again, especially, with the Nazi Party, white supremacy, that's been around in the U.S. for a very long, long time.
Oh, yes.
So the fact that we have this, Committee for a Pure America, 100%. If we didn't actually have an organization with that name, we had and still have similar organizations today. So that's why I always like when we see stuff like this, because there is a base of reality that we've seen this kind of stuff going on in America, and actually throughout the world, but especially in America, we've got a lot of this happening, and it's, I like seeing, the fun of Flash, and then he's like, okay, I got to get serious, because he's like, this is something, it takes it to another level. It, kind of goes back to, during World War II, and this is, been used in multiple movies, but it's actually based on reality. The government approached the mob to guard the ports, because they couldn't be everywhere. So they're like, hey, you guys watch the ports for Nazis.
Yeah.
We got to make sure and the mob did this. Organized crime said, yeah, and again, it's, we may be criminals, but we're American criminals. So we'll take out the Nazis. And the mob actually did that. They did, monitor the port. They did bring in illegal stuff through it and did illegal things through the port. We're not going to say they're great guys, because they're not. They're criminals, but, they did do that factor, and so I like seeing this, again, seeing all the people saying, oh, this is something different. This isn't just a simple robbery. And especially because in that truck is a bunch of stuff to make explosives, to make, chemicals. And again, I like last issue, they let us know that he's a science teacher. He knows what chemicals do. And granted, he's not a full professor yet, but he studied, he knows what you can do with all that stuff. You can make some massive amounts of bombs, some big explosions coming out of this, the amount they had in that truck. So he's like, we've got something serious going on here. And I like the fact that he's like, okay, let's hit the Gotham City. And he takes off for that.
Corrigan shows up on the scene, and I really liked how that played out. I like the energy.
Yeah.
Corrigan's got a chip on his shoulder, and he's well portrayed here. I love the Spectre. I love that's actually a series at some point in time it'd be worth us doing, is taking a look at some of the classic Spectre issues, because you haven't read into that, have you?
No, I've only read when the Spectre tied into a story we were telling. I've read those.
Yeah.
And I've read some of the stuff where Hal Jordan was the Spectre,
which was good. He was a different sort of Spectre.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've read a little bit, and Spectre is one of those characters I'm always curious about, because again, me with, religious undertones and characters who are directly connected to the higher power and this and that, directly connected to God, I'm always curious about reading them, because one, I want to see how things were being portrayed, to how much part of me, like, how much homework did they do to actually to create this character, and those are the kind of characters that really do fascinate me, but I've never done a deep dive on the Spectre. And it was interesting because when they first hit the scene, I was wondering, is he already the Spectre, or is this when he becomes the Spectre? Because the Spectre's on the cover. So I was like, okay, he's probably the Spectre, but because this is year one, I wasn't 100% certain if he was yet. I was thinking, is this where he becomes a Spectre? Later, we learn, no, he is the Spectre. But it was kind of neat when he first introduces himself. You're like, oh, okay. Oh, so here's the Spectre. Or is he? I don't know. It's kind of neat, you know?
Yeah, I actually like the mystery of all of that.
Yeah.
This has a nice burn to it, this story arc, where we don't need this is an example of a true year one, where we are seeing this unfold gradually. We know bits and pieces of what's coming, but the question becomes when does this get revealed? And I love that aspect of it. I love that Corrigan pulls him aside and like, well, let's kind of explore this one together. It was Corrigan wanted to get him aside so he could have some conversations with him where there's no prying ears.
Right.
You know, and it was...
Oh, because again,
he's digging. He's doing his own digging.
He's doing his own investigation on, Lantern and his connection to Gordon and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was kind of neat seeing them going on. And I love the little tete-a-tete between the two of them because, Alan's like, hey, you're hiding something. And Gordon's like, so are you. And I love the fact that they both, are observant enough to see that they're holding something back. Now, maybe because of the Spectre, Corrigan knows Alan Scott's secret. Maybe, I don't know. But there is, granted, anybody who would wear a mask and do the mystery stuff is hiding something. So yes, but how deep does he know what the Lantern's hiding?
The continued exploration underground, and you just see where all these people are going to be converging eventually.
Yeah.
Of Sandman and Hourman, and them coming across these vats and these experiments, and eventually their first bad guy, the first true bad guy is. I really enjoy. It feels so grounded, and the sense of danger around every turn is really cool. I'm playing the Indiana Jones game that was released. I'm playing that on my Switch too as well. And I just love the archaeological aspect of just digging through corridors and stuff like that. It feels almost like you're playing, as a kid, like we found a cave and we're it's a neighborhood cave and you're just kind of like digging through it, like going through the woods and stuff like that. This idea that like these things could really happen and they're super grounded. This has that. The creep factor is, I've always found experimentation on people creepy. It's if you're to the area that I just found, it is immoral, unethical, and just flat out scary, creepy. This idea that once, they've done these alterations to you, they can't be undone. You can't really be saved from it. So then the heroes are reacting to this horrific thing, this monstrosity that's in front of them. And you feel bad for the victim at the same time. It's scary for the heroes. I love this kind of stuff. Because this is, if you're asking me like what's true terror, this kind of stuff adds terror.
Oh God, to it. And the experimentation on people where you can't control. You're sitting there and you're feeling and seeing everything happen. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
If you look at the way this guy is restrained, they were cutting into him alive and seeing what would happen, basically. So you're like, that's got to be horrific for that person. And then the other person who's in the vat, who. And I like the fact that they're like, do we, keeping him in there, like, hey, that could be the only thing keeping him alive. So they've got to leave him for now and continue exploring. So I like, I like these two as a team. They're a good partnership. But when our villain shows up, I have no idea who that is. Do you know his name?
I'm drawing a blank on it.
Okay.
I think it does come up in one of the later issues, but
okay. I can't remember it right now.
And it's atomic based. So on some level, I'm feel like the second I see it, I'm going to be like, oh, you idiot. But I don't even know where to like, I was going to look it up and I'm like, I don't know where to start. So I'm sure it'll come up accordingly, and I think it is revealed during these 6 issues.
Okay. No, cool. Yeah, it just I liked, the introduction, and then we flipped to.
By the way, it isn't in the first. It is not revealed in the first 3, which is what we're covering right now. Because I was looking, I'm like, is it anywhere here? And I didn't have a clue to go. I take it back. I found somewhere to look. Cyclotron. Cyclotron is who's the character is.
Okay.
It's Terrence Kurtzberger. Terrence Kurtzberger is the villain, but it's Cyclotron is the villain there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and again, I like the fact that they threw this out there, and I have no idea who it is, but I'm like, okay, eventually we'll find out who it is. And again, adding further mystery to what's going on.
I've seen him in other stories. So, I mean, this is not his first appearance or anything like that. It was driving me nuts because I knew the costume, but I've got to admit, am I a cyclotron expert? No, not at all. Not at all. I needed like that. I like to find the names because that's going to drive me nuts otherwise, which is why I paused us for a second to look for it. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I do have enough now to be able to find out who. And so Cyclotron is the character. And I actually want to give a shout out to leagueofcomicgeeks.com. That's actually where I found it. So,
cool.
Yeah, I was looking through. So I have certain sites during our episodes where if there's some question that comes up, I go to, but I usually need at least a couple of little nuggets in order to get where I need to go. And I'm like, I don't know that I have enough here. And I actually use Satana to get me to it because I'm like, oh, let me do year one in Satana. And that took me to their site, League of Geeks. And then they have the breakdown by each issue of even the characters that just do cameos. So that's how I found Cyclotron. And they have, the nice part is it's a very detailed site. They have not only the name of the character, but their alter ego.
Cool.
Which is pretty cool. So like I said, leagueofcomicgeeks.com is where I got that information from.
Right.
I love sites like that.
Yeah. That's actually kind of cool to know.
So back in Gotham, we see, I'm going to say this is my favorite sequence in this issue.
Yes.
The initial meeting between Al Pratt and Hippolyta. And I love how she clearly respects him. Like she's recognized that this is a man of somebody she should respect. You know, or it's like, okay, he's got ethics and things like that, but she's like, you're lumbering around. Like, you got no grace. It's talk about being humbling. And then she goes, you can join me if you'd like.
Yeah.
And I love that with Al Pratt, just because he doesn't even know how to react to that. Me join you. And she's not even like, this isn't a debate. That conversation's ended. She's like, as he starts to like even debate about it, he goes, indeed. And maybe you'll even learn something. And then she goes and dies off the roof. And I was like, this is such a Hippolyta moment. I loved everything about the writing of this. What a great sequence.
And not only does she dive off, she does like a flip off of there.
Yes.
So she's, again, showing just the athleticism, showing the power, showing the awesomeness that is Hippolyta. And I'll tell you, I love the fact that, the fact that it's Hippolyta, not Diana.
Me too.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I cheered when she said, you can call me Hippolyta. I'm like, oh, cool. This is awesome. Because again, it's, I like the immortal version of Diana where she doesn't age and this and that. And she could have been JSA and could have been that.
Right.
In the Wonder Woman franchise, she was in World War I. I loved that,
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the fact that the mom was the first one. And I also like the fact that she's not calling herself Hippolyta. I mean, she's not calling herself Wonder Woman. She's calling herself Hippolyta.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that, because Wonder Woman was the moniker that Diana got. And Diana just call me Diana. But, everyone else calls her Wonder Woman because that's the time frame when, Diana hit the scene. That the superheroes had to have some cool sounding name for the newspapers. And that's how she got her title of Wonder Woman. So I love seeing that kind of stuff. And again, I love the moments again where it really does show how short Adam is, because, again, Hippolyta, as I said before, she's a statuesque woman. She's tall. I assume all the Amazons are at least 6 feet tall, if not taller, just because I think, the way they've always described the Amazons, but still he is, he's right there. And I'm cheering that, one of the short guys is, actually being a hero.
Who's the guy in Dark Order?
Not a lot of us are represented.
Who's the guy in Dark Order in AEW? I'm talking about the John Silver. John Silver. No, John Silver.
Oh, John Silver. Okay, yeah.
Dark Order, not, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, John Silver. And the reason why I'm referring to him, I mean, he reminds me of Al Pratt in all the right ways, in the sense that he's really strong. I mean, I actually really enjoy him as a wrestler. I think he's very, very talented. He's one of those guys, whenever you see him, I think because he's a little bit shorter, you underestimate him. But then when you see him in the ring, he does like this amazing work. It's, pound for pound, the guy is just always, like every match that he's been in, I've always enjoyed. And he's one of the guys, and this is not meant to be insulting at all. I underestimate him. Like I'm like, when I see him in the ring, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot how much I really enjoy watching him.
Yeah.
And he's got that he would be like, if they were doing a movie of this, I would cast him immediately as Al Pratt.
God, yeah.
Not just because of his size, because quite frankly, the guy is built. He's got that kind of personality where I think he could pull off Al Pratt perfectly. Yeah. And my gosh, he could probably do his own stunt work.
Yeah, if we're talking live action, we now have cast Al Pratt.
Yeah,
right there. That's who we cast for Al Pratt. Because physically, he's the right look, but personality-wise, as you talk about, because again, he as in the ring, he tells a brilliant story.
Yes, he does.
His physical presence. And so I think 100% agree with you. So we now have the casting for Al Pratt done. But I think about the rest.
But I do think he's one of the reasons why I like the Al Pratt character even more now, because I've seen that guy in real life and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's like fantastic. And then you see it so works. Like I'm like, oh, we could cast this as a movie and use some wrestlers, and that would be a really, because he just is, he's good. Peru and Shire, love, this was a badass sequence where I love how, she's, hey, I've heard that you reincarnate. Are you going to reincarnate? Like, I don't know. Will you? And I love that Carter shows up on the scene. She's already freed herself and overtaken everybody. This was a great, and the Satana ran, right? She's not there.
No, yeah, she took off.
Yeah. But I'm glad that was when they geared up. I love those attention to details where they are not geared up yet. He went after his wife, without grabbing the gear because, at this point, like, let me get to her quickly. And that sense of urgency, meaning that, he didn't take the time to gear up because he was worried about her. I would make a strong argument with him that, dude, you should have at least grabbed a mace.
Yeah, he should have grabbed his mace.
Yeah.
I agree. But again, he's thinking about getting to his wife. But
well, he tore the air out of himself mid-route. That was where it worked for me. I'm like, he just immediately instinctually ran after her to try to assist, ripping out an arrow in his arm along the way.
Yeah.
So he's not even bandaged that thing yet. That to me is badass.
No, hold on, 100%. I agree with you. And I liked after that, then they suit up. Then they get ready to go. And it's kind of neat that, I love that, they see the poachers and like, okay, and Carter's getting ready to attack and Shire is the one like, hey, hold on. Let's just follow them and see where this leads. Let's not just jump into this. So I like the fact that, again, it's a good tag team between the two of them. Mm-hmm. And Carter's, smart enough to recognize, yeah, my wife's got a better idea than I do. I'm going to listen to. I like that.
I do too. Yeah, their relationship is very, very strong in this. The eventual conversion of Alan Scott and Jim Corrigan with Jay Garrick. This opening sequence where, Alan's super cold with him.
Yeah.
I loved this because I'm so used to these two. You and I are in the same boat where these two are the tightest of running buddies, and they have not gotten there yet at all. And I get it. As these men of mystery, they operate in the shadows. They don't want to get too close with each other, with anybody, because of the fact that they have identities to protect and things like that. So by their nature of operating, they don't do that. Then we get the idea of this, the Spectre is being watched by the whole occult group, the classic one, Madame Xanadu, we got the original Blue Beetle, we've got Dr. Fate, we've got Zatanna and Dr. Occult who are watching over them. I do love DC's magic hierarchy, and this is cool because we haven't seen a lot of these people in a while. It's good to know where they fit in DC history. This establishes where they're at right now, in them watching Corrigan in particular and trying to decide how to react to him. This chapter 2 is a really good chapter.
Oh, God, yeah. Again, they're doing a really good job with the pacing in that they're giving us some action sequences and they're giving us developmental stories. They're giving us the mystery. They're giving us their past, and it just, all the stuff is leaning towards, this is what you call a well-crafted, year one. And I'm really enjoying how they're covering, because you think about it, year one Batman, epic story, wonderful story.
Yeah.
They really only had 1, 2, maybe 3 people they actually had to talk about. You had to talk about Batman. You had to talk about Jim Gordon, and the people around Gordon. So
Catwoman.
that was really
Catwoman.
what?
Catwoman.
Oh yeah, Catwoman. Okay, but look at how many people they're talking about with the JSA.
Alfred. Year One did cover a lot of ground.
It covered a lot of ground, but let's be honest. It was primary focus Batman, Gordon and Catwoman. Alfred was there.
It's actually
they didn't go heavy into Batman. Alfred's origin. They didn't go heavy into a lot of people's origin.
I'm pulling back a little bit. I'm teasing. So let me be very clear for people listening. I am teasing a little bit. Actually, one of the things, if you listen to DC High Volume and some of the behind the scenes stuff, actually, there's a strong argument that Batman Year One is more of a Jim Gordon story when you take a look at how it plays out. And especially if you listen to it with high volume and how it's all put together. And I highly recommend, if you haven't pulled out Year One in a while, throw out DC High Volume Batman Year One, pull out your whatever, hopefully you have the absolute edition of Year One, pull that out and read along with it. Yeah. It is super cool to hear the special effects and the acting. It's dialogue beat by dialogue beat. It is my preferred way to, I've done that with all the high volume stories. And I've listened to them in my car first, and then I've gone back and re-listened again. Joking aside, you're right. It is a more focused on, I really say it's Batman through Jim Gordon's perspective, a lot of it. Whereas this one is trying to introduce a much larger cast, which is the point you're trying to make. And I am truly just teasing you. But they do. But Year One Batman covers a lot of characters, but it's through one lens. This is through multiple lenses.
Yeah.
Very well done.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And that's what I'm loving about this. And it was funny when you and I were first talking about this, I remembered this being more than just 6 issues. Because I remember the amount of information and volume it covered. I was like, it's got to be more than 6. But no, it's only 6 issues.
Yeah.
And they cover a lot of stuff in those 6 issues where I was like, dang, that's impressive. That really impresses me.
Issue 15, the cover in particular, is something I wanted to, because I'm a big fan of the Hawks, but that Hippolyta is so awesome.
Yeah.
Dave Johnson's he's a name I don't always hear and he does a ton of cover work, and it's all really sharp and dynamic and has a style that is very definitive. I just love seeing this stuff. It's 100 Bullets. I mean, that's where, all those covers were as well. This is just an artist who, this cover looks really, really sharp to me. I also love the framing of the JSA, with the logo.
Yeah.
And that Year One and in this case, the stars, how it all just worked really, really well for me. And it really picks up with where we left off, where we get to see this meeting of the Magic Guild side of the DC universe and the serious debate going on as far as how to handle Jim Corrigan. It's Dr. Occult saying Jim Corrigan's not ready and perhaps not even worthy of the Spectre. And there is, truth of that, as far as the Spectre is a big beast, and we know Corrigan's had his share of ethical issues along the way for anybody who's, read the Spectre at all. So there's this piece works really well, seeing them debating on how to interact with all of this. And especially with Fate kind of guiding the ship on what's going on there, and the encounters with her and Xanadu. I do love Zatara, because I'm so used to seeing him as a background character with his daughter. And it's always good when we get to see him more on the forefront without Zatanna there, just because it fleshes him out as a character a little bit more. And I did like his usage in this as well.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. And it's funny because I always forget that he's Zatara. Because again, I'm so used to saying Zatanna. Mm-hmm. So I will slip periodically if I haven't already, and I will call him Zatanna, though I know that's the daughter. But I'm just, for some reason, it's like, names for him, because he's always been just a supporting character. He's always been just a period where, where he'll make a phantom image, or Zatanna somewhere in another plane and can see her and communicate with her father. So I'm not as comfortable with him as I am with her, but I do love the fact that he is part of this group. He should be there. And Madame Xanadu, another one. I'm like, I always forget. Oh yeah, she's kind of immortal. So yeah, she should be in this group as well. So it's neat to see the characters that we have here, because, they're not all metaphysical powered, because Dr. Occult has magic, but he's not like a magic user, correct? He's more of a he's more of a, he's studied magic, but he's not a magic user, is my opinion. I thought of him as a spellcaster.
He's like his daughter. What? He's like his daughter, Zatanna.
No, Dr. Occult.
Oh, Dr. Occult's a magic user too.
He can actually throw spells out?
Yeah.
Okay. I always thought he was more of just a studier of it, kind of like the Watchers, where he's not actually a user, but he knows the world.
No, Dr. Occult is a magic user.
Okay.
Well. You're right too, though. I mean, he is one of your guys that, like, he's almost like a magic detective, but he uses magic. It's like a hybrid piece to him, but he does also dabble in magic.
Okay.
So there's a reason he's at the table. It is his experience and expertise, like you're saying. You're not wrong. There's more to it, though, if that makes sense. So that piece is, I just love seeing that these people, and you get it with them being quirky and having each being experts in their own lanes.
And before anybody questions, why did Jim think he wasn't a magic user when he teleports out of there? I actually thought that was the Tower of Fate creating a doorway for him. Because, after they have their discussion, he leaves. You see him walking through a magic portal. I always thought that was the Tower of Fate opening a door for him to go through, not him casting a spell.
Yeah, no, he does. He is, well, I think some of why you feel the way he does is that he's got kind of a, Sam Spade classic detective look about him. But yeah, he does. Because of his interactions with magic, so he has the powers of astral projection, hypnosis, illusion creating, and telekinesis.
Oh, okay.
And he wields like a talisman, like a spear or a disc with a pattern called the Mystic Symbol of the Seven. So he has like powers of clairvoyance, exorcism, deflection, and force field projection. I'm just looking up like, what is his actual power set?
Okay.
So he is a character that he's got some skills, but he has the look and it represents what he is. He is a detective. He like searches for artifacts. He does all the pieces. So you're not wrong it's just not the whole story.
Okay. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. So he definitely portrays what you're talking about.
Yeah. And again, I like this discussion that this group is having about, Corrigan, about even the JSA.
Yeah.
Because again, Dr. Pessimist, really does not trust the JSA to handle the Spectre.
Yeah.
And I love the argument that for the Spectre has to be in human form. It needs the human empathy to temper the wrath that is the Spectre. And I like the fact that they have that. And I like the fact that, some of the heroes here are saying, no, the JSA will help, but the others are like, how do you know? We got to watch that. We have to watch out for the Spectre because of the sheer power levels that are the Spectre. And I like this, couple pages here that this group that's watching the heroes saying, hey, what do we got going on here? And I also like the little conversation between Xanadu and, Dr. Fate about, hey, don't interfere. They've made, the lords of, order have said flat out, we do not interfere with this. Don't go against them. And, makes me wonder what's going to happen.
I like that he sits there and says, I'm not someone who likes standing around and watching.
Yeah.
And she's like, nevertheless, you will. I have seen it. And I like that with Dr. Fate, there is a question on what he's going to do. And I love that. I loved that ending of it, especially knowing his history with the JSA. I do like seeing the growing relationship that's going on between Alan Scott and Jay Garrick. They're not running buddies yet, but there's more, and it really is Jay more than anybody else who is trying to build the relationship there. I know we just met, but I'm getting the creeps coming off of Corrigan, and I really like that he pulls him aside. Like, he trusts Lantern. He looks up to Lantern. There is a growing sense of, from his end, I feel like you and I should be connecting here. I feel like you and I should be comparing notes. All of that makes sense. And
I laughed when, after Flash does that, Lantern just looks to Corrigan and says, "Hey, Flash thinks you're hiding something." I love the fact that he takes him aside and says, "Hey, what about this guy?" Like, "Hey, he doesn't trust you." That right there.
Alan's kind of a jerk.
He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
This is the super jerkery that is the Green Lantern here. And I'd like to see that, especially knowing what good friends these two are going to become.
Right.
This replaces the two heroes meet, they have to fight. No, two heroes meet and they act like jerks. The one acts like a jerk to the other one. And later on, they're going to be best of friends. So, like, that's kind of cool. I like that. And again, I love Corrigan. Everybody's hiding something. Everyone. And in Flash, like, I'm not. What you see is what you get. Literally, because we can clearly see his face. So he's not hiding.
But the best part was the line, "Tell him, GL." And Alan does not play along because he's relating more, I think, to the Spectre in that moment.
Yeah.
And I love that. The Starco bit, and this leading to the conversion, I was so geeking out. I'm like, yes, finally, we're going to see them go where Hourman and Sandman are and see this team start to converge. I do love that, they're like heading off, and Flash is kind of left in the middle, like, where do I go? Who do I go with? Should I be going with somebody here? He's looking to team up in the worst way, and neither of them are having it. I just really loved that whole sequence and how it played out. The ow that he hears and runs right around the corner to Johnny Thunder and Thunderbolt, that was so awesome.
Yes, agreed.
Especially playing off of that. I wanted to see the Thunderbolt at this point in time. I'm a big fan of Jakeem and what came later with it. But going back to my childhood, this was my childhood, seeing Johnny Thunder and Thunderbolt. And I remember as a kid thinking to myself, Johnny Thunder is such a tool. But I always loved the Thunderbolt and the concept of the Thunderbolt. He had that snapper car, Jimmy Olsen kind of feel to him, and still does, and appropriately so, and he works so well with this team. But the Thunderbolt makes it all work. And I was glad when Johns brought the concept back with Jakeem Thunder and eventually brought Johnny back into it. With Jakeem Thunder, was a Thunderbolt originally and Jakeem. And then Johnny was brought back into the mix later on in a way that was really, really cool. I love this history and seeing the original Johnny Thunder and Thunderbolt here. Gotham City and more with Hippolyta and the Atom, who is, I love, he's like trying to justify himself along the way, as like, hey, I got this. I'm good. I don't need all this training and that type of thing. And he's even saying that I'm not a track runner. I'm a wrestler. Slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
The Tigress bits were really good because at first I was mistaken in my mind, is this an old Golden Age version of Cheetah? Yeah, and it's not. It's Tigress. It's who was a character at the time. But seeing Hippolyta basically take her out in short order was really cool. You gotta be Al Pratt like sitting there like, this woman is just doing everything.
Yeah.
I would read a mini series with just these two in a heartbeat. Heartbeat.
Without hesitation, completely. And again, I loved the interaction between the two of them because I love the fact that they each realize the other is really trying to compensate for stuff. He's compensating for her size. She's compensating for her gender. They want to show everybody, hey, I'm just as good as everybody else. And again, in the 40s, this is something you would have to do. You really, women were treated, as, were second-class citizens in all practicality, with, it wasn't until, the workforce, left to go to the war that women were actually given a chance to work and do and interact and actually be part of society other than the housewife, and I think I love seeing Hippolyta like this, where she's doing what she's got to do, and when Alan calls her on it, she's like, hey, so are you. And he's and he is, and I loved seeing that kind of stuff play out, because again, in the 40s, there was a lot of non-equality going on. And we still have non-equality to this day, but it was a lot worse in the 40s. We've made dramatic improvements since then, but I love seeing Hippolyta do her thing. This is, and here's of all the heroes in the book, I wouldn't mind being Alec, because I'm already short, so I could be him. And I'd 100% run around with Hippolyta. I'd struggle to keep up, just like he does, But this is a cool combo that I didn't realize I wanted until I'm seeing it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Cyclotron, ready to, and I forgot that we left him ready to duke it out with these two heroes. And I love that the gas, like these two, Hourman and Sandman, don't know how to team up yet. Right. So, Hourman is becoming a victim of the Sandman's gas. Yeah. At this point, because these two don't know what they're doing. Sandman is trying to basically give them some cover, give them a way out. And the fight that breaks out is as they get overtaken by Cyclotron, then tossed into prison with Amazing Man, which I didn't expect coming.
Okay, I didn't know who that was. I thought it was like Steel or something, one of their versions of Steel.
So I'm not used to Amazing Man having the steel coating, but that's William Everett Sr., who is Amazing Man.
Okay.
Now, are they going the same route with this? I don't know, but that's who the character is, supposedly. Now, I don't remember him having like any form of steel coating, but that may be Lemire modernizing the character. I don't know. We'll see what's going on. But a prominent character in All-Star Squadron. So it's interesting to see where that particular piece goes.
That was one of the things I didn't know who that was, but it didn't take away from, oh, cool, another guy, and I think that's one of the advantages that the series is doing so well, in that I don't know all the players, but I'm still enjoying the read. I'm still enjoying the ride. And I know enough of them to understand what's going on with people, but it's one of how well the story is crafted, in that, again, I talked before about pacing. You have some action sequences, then you have story development, action sequence, character development, and you keep flip-flopping back and forth. And that's what keeps you pulled into reading and continuing on the story. When I was done with this issue, I was like, yes, give me more. And each of these issues end with great either cliffhangers or great story.
I agree.
Like this one ends with the Spectre starting to rise up out of, Corrigan, because the murder, his vengeance must be served. And Corrigan kind of fights it until Fate shows up and says, no.
He is still fighting it, at least where the cliffhanger is.
Right.
And Fate's kind of like, you got to stop fighting or else it's going to be the death of everyone. And what a great cliffhanger off of that. The Spectre is got to be something, if you talk about one of the creepiest JSAers, it is the Spectre. That and the Helmet of Fate. The idea that Naboo takes over, you put on the helmet. I'm a big one when you start screwing with my mind and that kind of stuff. The Spectre inhabiting you it's like a creepy version of Firestorm.
Yes.
Where you're overtaken by the spirit, God's spirit of vengeance. Like
that's a tough one.
Yeah,
that's a tough one.
Like that's a tough way to spend a Saturday. Yeah, and the Helmet of Fate, I think, is a close number 2. I think Dr. Fate's way cool. I would not want to put that thing on my head. First of all, as I'm getting older, I'm discovering I'm claustrophobic, and I think that helmet on my head, I'd be afraid I couldn't get it off. And the idea of, and I love that, actually. I think that aspect of it just it's very claustrophobic. It's for as silly as I think the Jay Garrick disguise is, I like breathing. So I'm like, as I get older, that or the domino mask, I'm not convinced that either of those things really protect your identity much, but they sound a lot more comfortable to me than the Helmet of Fate.
Oh, definitely. And I'll be honest with you, you think back to when COVID was around.
Yes.
And everybody was wearing the masks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You walk up to me wearing that mask, I would 100% know it's you because I know you.
Yeah.
I know you well. You're my friend. But a total stranger walking up to me in those masks, I would not recognize them. And there was even, I remember one time I ran into, it was one of Dad's doctors outside of the office, outside of their medical office, and they had the mask on, and I completely didn't recognize them until they started talking. I'm like, oh, hey, I know you. And then I dropped my mask so he could see my face, and he dropped his. I'm like, oh, hey, how's your dad doing? And that kind of stuff. So it was, so that simple mask, during COVID provided, sufficient, disguise. So the domino mask, I'm more behind than an open face.
The helmet of fate would have been the ultimate COVID mask.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because you sneeze, it's not going anywhere. It's nasty.
It's going right back in your face.
That is nasty. I love these issues. I really, really love these issues. Are you digging this series as much as I am?
God. I'm really loving JSA, and again, it's one of those things where I keep telling myself I need to start doing a deep dive.
Yeah.
And I think our discussion on this is going to get me doing more of a deep dive on this. I actually start reading some of the stuff that I have. So it's, like right now I'm doing a deep dive on Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah.
Because all the Legion discussions we've had the past couple of weeks has really, I'm like, I've got to do this. And I'm doing it now. JSA is going to be another one of those things where I'm like, I'm going to start doing a deep dive. And again, I use the app for these deep dives. And, we were talking off air about how the app's changed and how it's making it easier for you to find stuff and actually set stuff aside so you can easily scan it. So I'm going to create a separate list where I'll put one of the past JSA runs in that list, and I'll go through that full run. It'll be easier for me to find it. It'll be my JSA list. And it, make it easier for me to find some of the past runs and do some of the past reads and whatnot. So I'm really digging this stuff, and JSA is going to eventually be a deep dive for me.
These DC Finest books, I'm hoping they eventually get into some of the All-Star Squadron and Infinity Inc. stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because they seem to be, they're going into a lot of the war stuff, some of the unusual books and things like that. I'm hoping those are doing well and we get more of them. Just because I really like these DC Finest volumes, as far as having the physical version of a lot of these stories, and they're collecting things that are unusual. But I'd like to eventually, because I admit I've read very broken runs of All-Star Squadron and very broken runs of Infinity Inc. I loved Infinity Inc. back in the day. I was a big fan of Obsidian and Jade, like back when they were originally introduced in that series. And, at least that was my introduction to them. I think that was where they came from. But the idea of that being the offshoot of the JSA and the continuing, like the next generation, I loved that kind of stuff. It was a real geek, and the costumes were very unique and different. So that's kind of stuff that, like, I'm hoping at some point in time we can do an All-Star Squadron story, an Infinity Inc. story. Or maybe, I think they did crossovers between those books. So it might be fun to, if there was a crossover, to do like a All-Star Squadron Infinity Inc. crossover, just to be able to touch base on those. But I'm glad we did this.
Oh, God, yeah, I'm down with this. And I'm looking forward to the, talking about the next 3 issues.
Absolutely.
Look at those strange little beetles. They look... Great neutron!
RagingBullets.com is our show website that you can find details on upcoming episodes. It feeds into our X/Twitter and also our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and I want to thank everyone who continues to post over there. And please know that we post all of our episodes there. You have any thoughts, ideas, things like that, or questions that you want to ask about the show, please feel free to post them there. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address. If you want to send us email comments or audio comments for the show, We love having you part of the show, so feel free to send an email at any point in time to ragingbulls@gmail.com to get your thoughts and commentary on these episodes. And the About Us section of our show website, you can find details on how to connect with us on social media and gaming platforms. Bi-weekly, you can hear me on Is It Jaws, a film review podcast. Host Paul Spataro has me on as a co-host, and we have a wonderful cast of characters that join us to discuss a wide variety of movies using the Jaws 1 through 4 scale for reviews. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Seguin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have 2 really cool omnibus hardcovers. A House of Mystery, The Bronze Age, Volume 2, the 2026 edition, 48% off, only $65. And JLA by Mark Wade, 38% off, only $108.50. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, Legion of Superheroes, 5 Year Later's Omnibus. This is $175 regularly, 50% off, only $87.50. Legion of Superheroes, The Curse Deluxe Edition. This is $49.99 regularly, 40% off, only $29.99. And Legion of Superheroes, The Great Darkness Saga, $49.99 regularly, 40% off, only $29.99. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back, and we're going to wrap up JSA Year One with issues 16, 17, and 18. We will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean,
you're
Jim,
I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our